Hello everyone, my name is Josh and this is Whimsical and Interesting Musings, and today we're going to do something a little bit different outside of just general reviews and discussions. I'm going to read to you a little something that I wrote. It's actually a first chapter of a planned story or a planned novel that I'm writing, and it's called Seeing Red. So, yeah, I'm actually going to give this a little bit of a read, and if you want to see more content like this, where I read you stuff that I've written, because I do want to be a writer, and that's one of the reasons why, I actually, wanted to go onto YouTube, because I actually really do like, talking about stuff media related, whether it be, short stories, films, books, theatre pieces, whatever you like, television shows, whatever the topic is, or even music. I would love to, just talk about it and talk about it from a storytelling perspective and give further insight into that. So if you want to hear more of me, just reading an excerpt from my own work, please let me know in the comments, and if you leave a like on this video, please do so, and be sure to share it around and subscribe if you haven't already. That's it, let's get on with this particular reading. And a little context before I start reading. This book basically focuses on, or this story that I'm working on focuses on a guy by the name of Riley Keller, and he is a man who is on his way in a very rain-drenched fashion away from something. He's running away from something, and we don't know why he's running away or why he's so, infused with rage and upset. We just kind of are introduced to him the way he is. And he stumbles across a pub, and this is basically the entire journey of his character. And this is the prologue. This is Seeing Red by J. Daniel Williams, and this is the prologue. Hope you enjoy and have a good day. Riley Keller was treading through rain-softened soil with a buzzing in his brain and a flared tint in his eyes quite akin to madness. "I'm sorry," Riley muttered through the biting cold. His walker was going up an incline at a half-start, the wheels making a rusty metallic turning sound as the one side lifted off the low path at a lob-ended tilt, making him feel nervous about its steady progress. If his family could see him now, they would caution him not to come home. He had brought shame to the family once before, and now he really broke his last straw. There was no coming back from killing someone. The sky, for the brief interludes in which Riley could see, was soaked in a cold streak of red, slowly reducing the trees in the distance and the path on which he kept his feet to faded shapes coming dark from an overcast tint of blue. He paused, his hands becoming clammy and somewhat hollow of the grip he maintained on the handles of his walker as he walked further on, stopping only when he was in the safety of stationary ground. Stable should his wills be, and he might have meant. Excuse me, I'll start that again. He paused, his hands becoming clammy and somewhat hollow of the grip he maintained on the handles of his walker as he walked further on, stopping only when he was in the safety of stationary ground. Stable should his wills be, and he might have a moment to think. As Roy continued to walk, he felt a hot, cold flush to his face. He thought it could be death, or pneumonia, or hypothermia. But he was running on quickly through this redness of rage in his blood, keeping him afloat at least until the yellow and comfortable glow of lamplight scored his features like a death mask. If he were to die, let this be his last will and testament. And he didn't ask for this, yet here he was, welcoming his heart to the madness he only once entertained with light curiosity, as one does through TV shows and books. He had once seen this madness in someone like himself, and now he was waiting in this pale light, thinking about him, as one might do, who of the pain Jesus might have felt in being crucified, agony combined with the cold, hot soakage of flesh. The final test. How long can you hold on, miracle man? How lucky must one be to have the virginity of sainthood come across their faces during the point where the shroud of death reduces your mouth and eyes open upon a circumference of greying flesh, transcending to stone. Miracle to manhood with a vanishing light. During his heavily concentrated thoughts, Riley managed to spot up the next slope. A pool of light had shown itself like an apparition in the gloom. A concrete road leading to an embankment of high footstones and cobbles. There was a bookshop, a bakery, and a cafe with a few strange places for selling maps and antiques made from porcelain glass and polished wood. There was even a vinyl shop displaying patched-together vinyl sleeves, the colours all muted and the titles scratched out. When he emerged from the stream of sinking grass, his walker clinging to stability with his wheels caked in the dirt, he found a pub called the Ship and Shovel. Riley's face lit up, then with such speed, no more quicker than if he were in a dream. He dashed to the door, large steps be damned, he climbed and knocked as hard as he could on the door with boldly lit tiles of glass. He would shout, but his voice was heavy with the grit of the cold and damp in harmony with his chest. He slammed his hand harshly on the door, not caring for a minute if he disturbed anyone. He climbed and carried on knocking until the door would be opened. "You all right there, mate?" a gruff voice admitted through a crack as the door slid open. Light poured into Riley's eyes with a sting as laughter, song, and lively chatter followed his arrival. "You all right there, sunshine? You look tattered," the voice asked. The closeness of the voice jolted Riley to face its speaker once he had taken in his surroundings. It belonged to a man in his mid-40s, with short greying hair combed well enough to be considered decent, and his trench coat amassing his shoulders like a cloak. "He's what you'd call old school," the voice of his father chimed into his head with the same light-headedness swallowing his mind as when he was a child, becoming overstimulated with harsh bright lights, crudely shaped ornaments, and the scorched grease of sausages. Riley nodded. "I just need some food and a bed to sleep in for the night, sir." "All right, I'll get Charlie, he'll sort you out." "Oh, and call me Nigel, by the way. I hate being called sir, it makes me feel old." Nigel's face lighted with a half-smile then. As a place by the bar was set up, with a pulled-out stool, the only indication that Riley should join the other patrons for a levee of drinks and a song before his supper, he was reminded of that strenuous trek, his eyes beaming a red stare thanks to Riley casting a damp and muddy-soaked smile over his white freckled brow. "What can I get you, mate?" the barman asked, palms pressed down on the bar as smoke muted the yellow of the overhead lights, giving Riley a feeling of his uncle's smoking habits, a glimmer of his nicotine-stained smile making Riley clasp sweat from his forehead like catching tears with a tissue. "Oh, fuck." The words entered his mind with these rapid interludes of breathing. There, but never spoken until called for it. That's what any decent therapist would tell you would be the first means of managing negative thoughts. Find your safe space. Riley said to himself as the sound of the song grounded him. In through your nose. Always in through your nose, understand? He did as memory dictated. A steady fusion of heat peppered his upper lip, reminding him that the stubble, which was so well liked by Riley, and hated by others depending on who you asked, was in the microfiber stages of growing back with this dotted illusion of movement. "Sorry, may I have a cider? Do you still serve food?" "The kitchen's closed for the night, mate. If you want food, I can give you a room and a place for breakfast in the morning." The barman folded his arms, maintaining the countenance of someone readying himself to show this man the door on the first hint of trouble brewing. "But it costs extra, though." Riley nodded. "Thank you." Riley looked about his person. The pouch he had carried, dull green in colour with the jet black interlacing for the zipper, strap and carry throw, wasn't on him. He looked back up at the barman. He shifted his hardness in demeanour with a sigh and gentle inflection of tiredness with a tilted head. "Look, you can either pay now or in the morning. Either way, it's the same for all customers. That includes disabled patrons." Riley was then shook by the same gruff as a pitbull voice close to him. This time his tone was punctuated by his clasping a hand to his shoulder. "Here you go, mate. It's all on me, lad. How much for the room and food, Charlie?" £25, including breakfast." Nigel fished £20 and a fiver, scrunched from being in his pocket, and palmed it in the barman's hand. "Cheers, Nige." Riley offered his thanks to both Nigel and the barman, probably from fear he would get from strangers of forgetting his manners. "Take no notice of Charlie. He's a guarded chap, but trust me, he's got half gold if you know him long enough." I've been getting that a lot these days, Riley said, flicking a nervous glance back to his companion. New faces always get wary looks from everyone round here. Don't take it personally. Where are you from? Nigel asked, having rounded the stool Riley was seated at and draped his overcoat on the one next to him. Riley started rubbing his hands together with a shiver of the cold caught up with him, as the shivers of the cold caught up with him. Croydon. Riley's voice became stifled. He coughed to clear his throat when his voice flickered out. Isn't that the place they're calling the Greenhouse District now? Never saw the point myself. Elf, so you're a South London chap. Nice to meet you. I'm Nigel Thornton, he said, extending his hand in introduction. Riley's eyes wandered for a moment, surveying the odd trinkets propped and held in presentational positions. Each one had some kind of a smile, had some kind of a face. Riley turned back to Nigel when he heard the same stifled and dry-throated grunting coming from his chest. Sorry, my name's Riley Keller, he replied, wiping sweaty palms on his trousers and changing hands to shake Nigel's own. Where am I, sir? Kelford Quarry. It's a dismal place when it's dark, but come the spring, it really is the place to be. It's a great place to grow old in, you know. Oh? You all right, Riley? He asked, when he noticed Riley's head was lowered and what want of rest mere sleeping wouldn't compensate. I'm sorry, I do tend to natter on. Feel free to tell me to button it if you've had enough. My wife always says... Nigel stopped himself with his mouth. Nigel stopped himself with his mouth tilted ajar as he spoke. Riley noticed jittering a stilted open-mouthed junction of half-speech and silence. There was a whimper in his tone, making the sibilant hiss of his last words seem hushed by the cluttering and clinking of plates and beer glasses. I'm sorry, Riley turned himself on the stool to face Nigel. I've just had a long journey and I'm a little shaken from the cold and the walking. I'm not used to standing this long. I have cerebral palsy, so if I stand too long, I start to... Hey, it's all right, Riley, Nigel interjected then. You don't have to explain. We're all friends here. Nigel patted him on his shoulder with a brief flash of a smile. What are you doing here anyway? Haven't you got a home to go to? Riley could tell Nigel was trying to be kind and gentle, but he couldn't help but feel cornered with the utterance of that question. Wexler would have a field day, if he got asked that kind of question. So forgetting himself, he started to laugh. No, I don't, Riley replied, when the flush on his face rippled to his shoulders and chest. Just then the barman returned, placing a bottle and a tall glass in front of the rain-swept patron. Nigel opened his mouth further, but Riley stopped him when his bottle toppled over, fidgety hands making it difficult to loosen the cap. I mean, yes, I have a home, but no one wants me there. Why? Whatever happened, it's not too late to change it, Nigel spoke with the gunfire quickness of an interrogation. It's a long story. By the way, why do you want to know? Don't you have a home to go to? I could, but I wouldn't feel welcomed there. Things haven't been good with the family, so I'm keeping my distance. Anyway, given the way you look, it looks as if you could use someone to talk to here. Nigel removed the cap from the bottle and started pouring. Get this down, yeah, and I'll join you with mine. And we'll talk it through. Like I said, it's not too late. It is for me. Why? Nigel asked, his voice stern now. Like I said, it's a long story. And like I said, I've nothing better to do, so start telling. Nigel swelled the contents of his glass before he sipped. Lost in his own reveries, Riley imagined. Perhaps the man he knew as a stranger was right. They both were in no rush, and what did he have to lose? Perhaps Nigel's family were in as good as well shot of him just as Riley knew he himself was. Plus, the man had paid for his room. He dared not bring up the topic of his phone on the off chance of the stranger offering him change for the reconciliation he would doubtless have to make once he told his story. Riley sipped his cider. A strawberry zest polluted with the cold comfort of the alcoholic burn grounded him to his mellowing thoughts. Strangely enough, it also kept his mind sharp as he was finally able to think. He closed his eyes as he gathered himself. Upon opening his eyes, Riley saw Nigel looking at him with the darted pupils of a man searching the other in front of him for meaning, but there was also a glimmer in Nigel's eyes that meant he pitied him. The way he looked, the way he spoke, especially what he was wearing. It was a denim jacket, his father's own, under which was a Chelsea shirt, one of many, with 2 gold stripes running down the middle of each shoulder, with the blue lion regarded as a king, sceptre in hand, as well as 2 sets of the English rose either side of him, the lion facing the first 2 and the sceptre facing the others. We'll all be here for you, Riley. He took another swig. The heated fusion of fruit came at him like a furnace to a hot air balloon. He gasped and he swallowed. He could hear Wexler laughing in his head as he winced. Ah, Wexler. He allowed himself a playfully nostalgic smirk before he traced his lips with his forefinger before he started to talk. And that is Chapter 1 of Seeing Red. I hope you liked this particular reading, and let me know if you want to hear more of me reading this particular story that I've been writing. Let me know in the comments if you like the story, and if you like the video overall, be sure to leave it a like and share it around, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. That would be absolutely wonderful. Have a good day and take care.